This is the Troll Patrol. Live. With Justin. Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol. Live. It's a freaking Wednesday. Hump day. What's going on? A good portion of the United States is getting ready to be fucked by weather. We're going to talk about that. Today is Groundhog's Day. I don't know if you guys have that over in Europe. It's a New England thing here, so maybe you guys do. It's some kind of custom that was brought over on the Mayflower or some shit. Maybe it's just something fucking Puritans made up. I don't fucking know. Gonna see what the groundhog see a shadow. Did he not see a shadow? Why the fuck does it matter? Then we're going to talk about the weather going to hit the U.S. A new report. Johns Hopkins University says that lockdowns had little effect. Right wing is going nuts over this report, but there's a few caveats to it. Apparently, COVID aid went almost exclusively to the wealthy. Who would have thunk it? What's up, Sky Comet? Yo! We're going to hear from Marjorie the Gathering. I picked that one up from producer Dave on Echoplex. But the Competes Act. We're gonna find out what the Competes Act is and why the right wing is upset about it. Plus, we're gonna see a Chinese official dunk on a Republican representative. The latest on the deployment of troops to Europe. Follow up to a story that we did last night. Apparently it was breaking about the time that I was on stream. Whoopi Goldberg actually got suspended. So we're going to talk about that. Maybe there's a little bit of hypocrisy on the side of people that, you know, adamantly defend Joe Rogan, but are doing victory laps about Whoopi Goldberg getting suspended for 2 weeks. Apparently Whoopi is pissed. However, that's a New York Post article that I have on that, so we got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Tesla recalling self-driving cars. We're going to watch some video that might show why that's the case. Also, it's being speculated that one of the reasons why Elon was wanting to dump all that stock was that he knew the stock was getting ready to take a tumble with the recalls that were coming. Plus, have you ever seen a stingray give birth? Because if you haven't, you're going to tonight, and it's kind of weird. Fuck Elon Musk indeed. But inside of you are two lobsters. One is a benzo addict. Did I cut it off? I zoomed in too close. There we go. One is a benzo addict. The other is a charlatan. Jungian philosophy, bro. It's crazy, I swear. Yes, I'm with you. Right-wingers get so much slack. I mean, the fucking Karl Rove is still a talking head on cable news, even though, you know, the architect of lying us into war, racist policy. Whoopi Goldberg says something that I don't want to relitigate that whole thing. I get what she was trying to say. She didn't say it eloquently. Tonight, it just came on AEW wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. Supposed to be the debut of the Brian Kendrick on AEW. Hold on, let me get the tweet here. Tweet from Tony Khan. Yes! Yes, he's still around. He's on Fox News all the fucking time. Fucking Alan Dershowitz, accused pedophile. He was just on the BBC a couple of weeks ago. Oh, shit. See if I can pull it up on Twitter over here. Twitter going faster than the Facebook. Here's his actual tweet. We've been made aware of abhorrent and offensive comments made in the past by Brian Kendrick. There's no room in AEW for the views expressed by Brian. We think it's best for all that Brian be pulled from tonight's card as we gather more info. So I'm like, gee, what did he say? Oh boy. Shit about the Holocaust not being that bad, that Sandy Hook was a conspiracy, the 12 Jewish families that run everything. Like, it was fucking, he'd been listening to some InfoWars bullshit. I was like, oof. Probably a good thing they pulled him from the card tonight. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. And I like Brian Kendrick, too. Like, dude, what the fuck? But here, social media has exposed that so many of my favorite wrestlers are actually far-right nut jobs, and I don't like them anymore. Turning the freaking frogs gay. I don't know about frogs, but we got a groundhog we're going to hear from. Punxsutawney Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil, the seer of seers, the prognosticator of all prognosticators, was gently lifted from his burrow at 7:25 a.m., held high to see. His faithful followers had returned with glee. Placing Phil on top of the stump, where in groundhog ease, he directed the president, Jeff Lundy, and the inner circle to his prediction scroll that reads, "With my shadow I have cast, then a long, lustrous 6 more weeks of winter."
Why are people cheering that? What the fuck is wrong with people in goddamn Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania? What the fuck? Why did they cheer 6 more weeks of winter? Fuck. Dip rating us. Welcome. If you're just joining us, the groundhog saw a shadow. As if we needed any more prediction about what was coming this week, as the United States getting absolutely pummeled by a winter storm a few minutes ago on NBC here. We're going to see some pictures
Tonight, of heavy snow, ice, and rain stretching from the Rockies to the Northeast. The dangerous wintry mix pounding roadways, snarling traffic, and causing blizzard conditions.
You're cold all the time, you're wet. It's just not fun.
Parts of New Mexico already buried under 20 inches of snow. More than a foot has fallen in Colorado and Illinois.
Wet, heavy snow.
This is the wet, heavy stuff?
Now, I think Texas getting it is like it's coming in like a day or two because there's 2 different storm systems that are going to meet up. I think the part that's going to hit Dallas is on Thursday or Friday. Don't hold me to that, though, but I think that's what I heard last night.
Yes.
Are you ready for it?
No.
In Peoria, a major highway nearly impassable. State police jumping in to help stranded drivers. Missouri's governor activating the National Guard and joining others declaring a state of emergency.
Now, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas. See, this is the winter alert into Friday. Just a few months ago, Governor Abbott had said, we don't foresee a power failure the way we had last year. He's walked that back now that they're facing another severe winter storm. I didn't know it was going to stretch all the way down to Austin. Shit.
Americans across 26 states feeling the impact, including Texas, where last February's freeze led to a power grid failure. More than 200 people died.
Oh, I think it's a safe bet.
Now bracing for days of sub-freezing temperatures. NBC's Morgan Chesky is in Dallas.
And this is the opposite of what we talked about last night with the people in the north and in Europe that don't have air conditioning during these extreme heat waves. People in Texas aren't prepared for extreme cold. My ass over here in Alabama wasn't prepared for extreme cold.
The Texas power grid's biggest test since last year's storm left millions of people without any electricity. But on streets like this one that went dark for days, the governor says there's still no guarantee there won't be outages, even though the state claims 99% of power generators are ready to go.
There could be either ice on power lines that would cause a power line to go down, or it could be ice on trees.
The massive system moving east, where this morning Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow.
6 more weeks of winter.
Predicting a longer winter with more snow.
And Shaq, in a snowy Detroit now, travel not only difficult for those driving, but also flying.
Sheet Comet. Much love to you.
So those flight delays are piling up. Around 5,000 flights canceled or delayed today alone, with more than 3,000 already canceled tomorrow.
Fuck, 3,000 flights already canceled. I try to refer to everybody in the chat as a they just because I don't know. Hard to tell with if I call somebody by a pronoun, it's more than likely that I know them in person, like Curiouser. And she likes to take shots at me because she's my ex-girlfriend. Oh fuck. Johns Hopkins releases a new study. Lockdowns, school closures, and limiting gatherings only reduce COVID mortality by 0.2% at enormous economic and social costs, the study finds. Now, that headline might seem striking to you, but as I said, there's some caveats to this. A meta-analysis of 24 studies that found that COVID lockdown restrictions caused just 0.2% reduction in virus deaths. Economists. I mean, if like somebody is telling me specifically that they want to be referred to as a her, that's different. But just being just using they, to refer to somebody, I don't understand how that would be a transphobic slur. Referring to somebody as they when they have asked you to refer to them as a she, I could see that being transphobic, but just like in the not knowing. And we haven't done lockdowns for the last 15 months, and even when we did do a lockdown, we didn't even lock down half of the economy. But we're going to get into all the different problems with this so-called study. The original coronavirus lockdowns had little to no effect on pandemic death tolls in the US, UK, and Europe. A controversial report suggests economists who carried out a meta-analysis found draconian restrictions imposed in the spring. Like, look at the way it's framed. Draconian restrictions, including stay-at-home orders, compulsory mask, and social distancing, only reduced COVID mortality by 0.2%. They warned that lockdowns caused enormous economic and social costs and concluded they were ill-founded and should be rejected as a pandemic policy instrument going forward. The review, led by a Johns Hopkins University professor, argued that border closures had virtually zero effect on COVID mortality, reducing deaths by just 0.1%. However, closing non-essential shops was found to be the most effective intervention, leading to a 10.6% drop in virus fatality. Their report, which has not been peer-reviewed, said that this was probably due to shutting pubs and restaurants where alcohol is consumed. School closures were linked to a smaller 4.4% decrease. Researchers who deal in the field of economics rather than medicine or public health, originally identified 18,000 global studies into lockdowns, which they claim had to be withheld due to just to 24 to answer their research questions. Critics have accused them of cherry-picking studies to suit their narrative and have raised doubts about the biases of the authors who have been vocal about lockdowns and vaccine mandates on social media. I happen to have data from Johns Hopkins University right here. Now, if you'll notice, death per 100,000 citizens, the countries with the least restrictions, the ones with the highest death rates. You get down to Australia, which probably had the most restrictions on this list. 3,000 deaths per 100,000. This is recent. I just looked this up the other day. This is January 25th of this year. I want to be on top of things. So, this chart goes against everything they said in the study we just read about. Here is a New York Times article from, I believe, yesterday, February 1st. 2 years into the pandemic, the coronavirus is killing Americans at a far higher rate than people in other wealthy nations. A sobering distinction to bear as the country charts a course through the next stages of the pandemic. There is the U.S. line. Boom! We're number one! Look at Japan and Australia down here. Cumulative deaths during the Omicron wave. The United States far outpassed everybody. America! Fuck yeah! The ballooning death toll has defied the hopes of many Americans that the less severe Omicron variant would spare the United States the pain of past waves. Deaths have now surpassed the worst days of the autumn surge of the Delta variant and are more than 2/3 as high as the record tolls of last winter when vaccines were largely unavailable. Shit! I didn't get the fucking article that I wanted to get. There have been more people die of COVID in the United States than have been murdered in this country since 1976. You see right-wingers talking about violent crime all day long, all over Fox News. More people have died of COVID than everyone that has been murdered in the United States since 1976. More people have died of COVID in the United States than have been murdered since 1976. I laugh. I laugh because it's absurd. Not that I find the whole thing funny, it's just the absurdity of it all. Here's the thing, is we know that the number is an undercount. Because if you look at the average deaths for a year, like we far exceeded the average deaths. American lawmakers desperate to turn the page on the pandemic, as some European leaders have already begun to. The number of dead has clouded a sense of optimism even as Omicron cases recede, and has laid bare weaknesses in the country's response, scientists said. Here's another fact for you. Governor Youngkin took over in Virginia, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Did away with mask mandates. Guess what happened? Cases in schools skyrocketed. Yeah, I can't believe there are people that would go on a cruise ship. I would have had my doubts about going on a cruise ship before the pandemic. I definitely wouldn't want to get on one during a pandemic. Death rates are so high in the States, eye-wateringly high, said Devi Shidar, the head of the Global Public Health Program at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, who has supported loosening coronavirus rules in parts of Britain. The United States is lagging. Lady Lobotomy, welcome. Thank you for being a freaking follower. Some of the reasons for America's difficulties are well known. Despite having one of the world's most powerful arsenals of vaccines, the country has failed to vaccinate as many people as other large, wealthy nations. Crucially, vaccination rates in older people also lag behind certain European nations. The United States has fallen even further behind in administering booster shots, leaving large numbers of vulnerable people with fading protection as Omicron sweeps across the country. So you can see our vaccination rate was on par with other countries for a while and has lagged severely. Oh, God. I had not seen the thing about Florida, considering that kids are going to be truant. They isolate following a positive. God, DeSantis and that whack job Surgeon General he appointed down there. We did a piece last week with him just like spewing misinformation. It's insane. Meanwhile, the aid that we saw to combat COVID, went to the wealthy. All that COVID aid included $366 billion. $366 billion just shoveled towards wealthy people. Congress is getting better at heading off devastating recessions, yet the gusher of stimulus money Congress provided to offset the COVID recession during the last 2 years included hundreds of billions of dollars for wealthy Americans, with little benefit to the ordinary workers the money was supposed to help. That's another thing. Those PPP loans, with the vast majority of them have been forgiven, and you're telling me you can't forgive student loans. Fuck all the way off. New research by MIT economist David Autor and 9 others finds that the Paycheck Protection Program, an $800 billion aid package Congress passed in March of 2020, was one of the costliest but least effective congressional efforts to combat the COVID recession. The PPP was supposed to help workers by keeping their employers afloat. Low-interest loans were available to nearly every U.S. business with 500 workers or fewer. The money was for keeping workers on the payroll, hiring back laid-off workers, and otherwise keeping the lights on. Most of those loans are likely to be forgiven under the terms Congress established when it passed the program. PPP did help hasten the end of the COVID recession in 2020. The Autor research found that the program preserved nearly 3 million jobs in the second quarter of 2020 and a small number of jobs in ensuing quarters. It also aided the financial system by allowing smaller businesses to continue making payments for mortgages, equipment, and supplies. But the Autor research also found that the distribution of Paycheck Protection Program loans overwhelmingly accrued to high-income households, several of which then went and stormed the Capitol, because the money went principally to business owners and shareholders, who tend to be wealthy. Some of that money made its way to workers, but much of it didn't. Outcome that could change the way Congress structures fiscal stimulus in the future. As if they didn't learn their lesson in the 2008 crash. They bailed out the banks, and they let the recession ravage normal people. There were people in the Obama administration advocating for giving the money directly to the people. Dip, I thought you were going to say 2 words, Golden Corral. Like, no, I'm saving that one for Friday. Stories about people fighting over steak. That is something I need Sparkle's input on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, tune in Friday for the Friday Night Freak Show. Oh, fuck. The auteur research traced $510 billion in PPP loans the government issued in 2020 and found that only $144 billion made its way to the bottom 80% of earners. Only $144 billion. I can't imagine that Golden Corral has the best steak. I don't eat at no fucking Golden Corral. But apparently some people got really upset. Maybe they were chanting "Let's go Brandon" at the same time too, because they're blaming Biden for the lack of steak in this country. But hey. U.S. is number one, guys. U.S. is number one. This is a tweet. A Representative Elise Stefanik. They are arguing against the newest Democratic piece of legislation called the Competes Act. We're going to hear from Marjorie the Gathering here in just a second. America first, China last. So I thought they were a Chinese official, but apparently they're with a China state-affiliated media. This is Chen Wuhao replying to Representative Stefanik. First in what? COVID infections and deaths, gun violence, prison population, number of homeless people, bombs dropped in foreign countries, national debt of $30 trillion, number of idiot politicians like you. Yes, I've seen multiple of their clapbacks. You guys know what I always say. Right-wingers are morons. RB, weed! Don't mind if I do. I'm probably going to need it because you know I'm not high enough to hear from Marjorie Taylor Greene. You got to voice her opinion on China on the House floor today.
To another bill that puts China first and America last. Instead of focusing on a bill that's almost 3,000 pages, worth 325 estimated billion in spending, estimated, that doesn't really help America. It's going to give out $8 billion to the UN Climate Fund and mentions coral reefs 383 times. What Congress should be doing is working on a budget that will fund our government since we're running out of money in just a few weeks. What Congress should be doing is doing something about...
You motherfuckers are going to vote against that. You guys are going to do everything you can to cause the government to default. That's right. We are coming up on the... government funding cliff yet again. The likelihood of a shutdown is probably better than 50%. Yeah, that's another thing. They love to take credit for shit that passes that they voted against. They've been caught doing that multiple times.
On a budget that will fund our government since we're running out of money in just a few weeks. What Congress should be doing is doing something about the fentanyl that's coming from China that's killing young people and is now the #1 cause of death in Americans from 18 to 45, not COVID-19. What Congress should be doing is funding a wall, building a wall, protecting our border, and deporting illegal aliens who are stealing.
She is indeed reading off her phone. Moxasino says that she's probably reading Facebook memes off her phone into the congressional record.
American jobs. That's what we should be doing to help the American worker. But instead, we're debating a bill.
Getting all these drugs in my mouth.
Change the Green New Deal and help the coral reefs. This isn't what Americans care about. We all should be voting no and doing a better job.
She doesn't give a shit about coral reefs. What the fuck? Now, what is the piece of legislation that she says puts China first and America last? Reading a press release from the University of Washington here. The House releases the America's Compete Act of 2022. Nice little concise rundown of what it is. It's like the bipartisan United States Innovation and Competition Act, which passed in the Senate last summer. The bill authorizes strategic investments in advanced scientific research at NSF and the Department of Energy, semiconductor chip manufacturing, supply chain and natural resource issues, and key diplomatic efforts of particular relevance. $52 billion for the Chips for America Act. That is the, you hear about the semiconductor shortage, which I've been watching, like, if you watch Gaming Historian on YouTube, fucking, there's a chip shortage every 7-8 years or so. Chips for America. It is subsidies for Intel and AMD. Like, I think that's the majority of it's going to Intel to build a new plant. Comprehensive reauthorization of the Department of Energy's Office of Science reauthorizes the entire National Science Foundation and establishes a new directorate for science and engineering solutions, establishes a national engineering, biology, research, and development initiative, enhances outreach and access to STEM education at all levels, and reauthorizes Title VI international education programs. So I don't know exactly what it is in the bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying puts China first and America last. But I doubt she fucking knows. Oh, don't worry, RB. We're going to get to the View here in a second. A lot of people got some views on the View, too. But first, let's talk about troops in Europe as the march to war continues.
Well, tonight, the standoff with Russia has escalated, with the U.S. saying it will deploy thousands of troops to allies in Eastern Europe as a message to Putin. CBS's Charlie D'Agata reports tonight from inside Estonia, the former Soviet republic and now a member of NATO.
It's important that we send a strong signal to Mr. Putin and, frankly, to the world that NATO matters to the United States. It matters to our allies.
That signal shipping out.
Who wrote and sponsored the bill? Good question. I don't know who. There's a whole bunch of different amendments here. It's a bipartisan bill. I don't know who originally put it. Ross and Fishbach are the managers. Me a question that I didn't have the answer for. These are the different amendments that have been proposed. Always got to read that fine print. I'm not all about us sending troops to Poland and Germany, as if we didn't already have a bunch of troops there. They probably need to come home.
Well, tonight, the standoff with Russia has escalated.
There were several Republicans on board.
Deploy thousands of troops to allies in Eastern Europe as a message to Putin. CBS's Charlie D'Agata reports tonight from inside Estonia, the former Soviet republic and now a member of NATO.
I like it that you guys asked that question, and from now on, I'm going to be prepared to answer that question. Fucking love that shit. If you guys want to get into the deep dive of shit, let's do it. I am all about it. Find out who wrote the shit, who sponsors it. We'll keep that in mind going forward.
It's important that we send a strong signal to Mr. Putin and, frankly, to the world that NATO matters to the United States. It matters to our allies.
That signal, shipping out 2,000 troops.
It don't fucking matter to me.
To Poland and Germany.
The North Atlantic Trade Organization does not matter to me.
To Romania. The decision comes as new satellite imagery reveals a Russian troop buildup in areas bordering Ukraine, including Belarus, where joint military drills took place today with tanks and combat helicopters. Countering that threat in the Baltic nation of Estonia this week, America has been flexing its own military might, sending a squadron of F-15 fighters to strengthen NATO policing missions.
These American fighter jets have been deployed with NATO partners on the alliance's eastern flank, right along the border with Russia, and the mission has never been more critical.
What we're primarily looking for is any aircraft that are operating outside of normal international rules that might infringe.
You're looking for any fucking reason. What was the submarine that they made up in Vietnam to justify that shit? You're looking for any fucking reason to pull the trigger and say that they attacked us first. Somebody fucking, I'm drawing a blank right now. The submarine in Vietnam that was never fucking attacked caused us to escalate. That's exactly what they're looking for right now. That's why they're is that the Gulf of Tonkin incident? That was something different, wasn't it? This is why it's bad that I don't watch this shit beforehand, because then I don't do research on shit that I should. Help me get it to where this is my full-time job, and I'll totally do the research before I come on stream. I think it's like I got video games to play over here. And real work to do.
On NATO airspace.
Such as the Russian fighter jet we're told was intercepted in these skies just last weekend. With tensions rising in Ukraine, the aim is to reassure NATO partners while keeping Russia on watch.
Oh yes, Gulf of Tonkin, that was exactly it. The USS Maddox. Original American report blamed North Vietnam for both incidents, but further investigation suggested that the dismissal by Department of State and other government personnel of legitimate concerns regarding the veracity of the second incident was used to justify an escalation by the U.S. There is a fantastic documentary about Robert McNamara, who was the Secretary of Defense at the time, who wasn't, I think he served in the military, but like he wasn't a general or anything. He was like the president of Ford for a little while. Highly recommend that that documentary. I feel like he feels bad about the bullshit that he did. Yeah, the U.S. loves provoking other countries and then accusing them of being the aggressor. It was coming right for us! Little South Park reference here. About 20 minutes away from the premiere of South Park. In case you guys are wondering why I'm rushing through this shit and I'm going to go off early tonight. I got wrestling to watch and I got South Park to watch. It's CM Punk versus MJF, so you know I'm excited for that. This was the opening of The View this morning with somebody noticeably absent.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay. Tara Setmayer has returned to guest co-host.
That's all it was. That's all she said about. That's all we'll say about that. She'll be back in 2 weeks. Apparently, we'll be mad. We'll be big mad about it. Yes, she was suspended for 2 weeks. Now we watched the clip last night. She has a valid point, but she did not say it eloquently. And it was downplaying the superiority of the Aryans, the significance of race in the Holocaust. But I get what she was trying to say, that there was more to it than just racism. Apparently she is livid and threatening to quit The View over her suspension. Were you not here with us, Tones? Do you not know what Whoopi Goldberg did? What? I don't know what I'm not suggesting that there should be no. Downplaying their mindset that they were the superior race. She definitely fell flat. I could see how you could say that, Toads. I see the way I said it now. Their superiority in their minds being the motivation. Whoopi Goldberg is livid after she was suspended from The View over her claim. This is why it's so hard to talk about topics like this. And especially why you shouldn't do it on commercial TV of a morning, which on a show that's supposed to be a little more lighthearted. I know it's called The View and everything, but still, it's housewives watching this shit at like 9 or 10 a.m. I think that all the people that are like, how can you censor Joe Rogan? I think it's weird that they aren't upset about Whoopi Goldberg. Because even if you think she said something anti-Semitic, shouldn't you still be defending her? Because that's the whole point, right? You're supposed to defend views that you don't agree with. Because I get told by right-wingers all the time, well, you need to worry about this issue because they could come for you too. Weird. I don't think you should be talking about the Holocaust on a show like that. That's just me, though. Yeah, it's we've moved on, RB. We've gotten to the Whoopi Goldberg shit. But you're cool. And I mean, they did the right thing by having the CEO from the ADL come on and talk to Whoopi about it. That was the right move. But it's so weird that that right wingers aren't consistent on this. Whoopi is livid after she was suspended from The View over her claim that the Holocaust was not about race and is telling coworkers. Now, that statement in and of itself, that the Holocaust wasn't about race, I will agree that is incorrect. But I don't think that was her point. And she is telling coworkers she is going to quit the show, according to a source. Goldberg, 66, feels humiliated at being disciplined by ABC execs after she followed their advice to apologize for the ill-conceived comments a well-placed insider told the Post. She feels ABC executives mishandled this. She followed their playbook, she went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and then apologized again on The View the next day. The source added that while Goldberg is taking the suspension hard and says she wants to leave the show, insiders believe she's likely just sounding off. Her ego has been hurt, and she's telling people she's going to quit. Suspension from The View is like getting suspended from Bravo. The bar is very low. Reps for Goldberg and ABC did not return requests for comment. Her words weren't enough for ABC top brass Kim Godwin. ABC News president announced her decision to suspend Goldberg for 2 weeks late on Tuesday. telling staffers that such decisions are never easy but necessary. Words matter, and we must be cognizant of the impact our words have. Godwin wrote in a memo to employees that dubbed Goldberg's initial comments wrong and hurtful. As news of the suspension rippled through the network, it angered not only Goldberg, but also her co-host on the daytime talk show. I love Whoopi Goldberg, I love The View, Anna Navarro told the Daily Beast on Tuesday evening. This was an incredibly unfortunate incident. Whoopi is a lifelong ally to the Jewish community. She is not an anti-Semite, period. I am sad. I have nothing else to say. Goldberg first argued that the Holocaust went beyond race during a discussion on The View about a Tennessee school district's decision to ban Mouse, the Pulitzer Prize-winning graphic novel about a Holocaust survivor. The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race, Goldberg said. It's about man's inhumanity to man. That statement in and of itself is bad. But once again, it is hard to craft these kinds of nuanced discussions on commercial television in what was likely a 7 to 9 minute segment before a commercial break. We watched the segment. A minute after Whoopi is saying the comments, there's upbeat music trying to play them to break. I don't even know that she should have been suspended. Honestly, it was a good opportunity to open up the dialogue and have the CEO of the ADL on. But here's my problem with this, is that people like Kim Iverson on the Hill, the staunch supporters of Joe Rogan. I think even I have a tweet, not from Iverson over here. Will The View have content warnings, or is misinformation only harmful when Joe Rogan is to blame? Grace Curley on Twitter said, but why? Why are the people that are supposedly free speech absolutists, why are they taking a... Now, maybe Kim Iverson has a decent take. Once again, I haven't watched this, but the headline is Karma for Karen. Whoopi Goldberg gets a dose of her own cancel culture medicine.
Well, I have to address this. I am not a Whoopi Goldberg fan, okay? I just have to start off with that, and I hate to defend her, but her recent suspension over her comments regarding the Holocaust, Jews, and race don't merit the 2-week sidelining that she has been handed. Just a refresher, here's what...
Well, cool. Thank you. Okay, now this is the first time I'm seeing this clip from the Colbert Report. Oh, not the Colbert Report, I'm sorry, The Late Show. Harkening back to a much better time in America's history. Maybe I didn't understand her point. And if that's the point she's making, that's not correct. I don't think she knew about this, or maybe like she hadn't really heard. I sent her the thumbnail for my video. You know, that says, Whoopi Goldberg apologizes for Holocaust comments. I hope she didn't know. I hope she hadn't seen the news that day. And she didn't know all this shit was going on. And when she was like, why was Whoopi talking about the Holocaust?
You take your word for it and never bring it up again.
Well, she won't be for the next 2 weeks, at least, because she's sitting out from The View. She's been suspended. And, you know, she's got a different view, ironically, even more ironically for a show called The View. The hosts rarely allow other views other than their own. And, you know, look, this is karma for Karen, right? She gets, by the way, if you don't know, her real name is Karen Johnson. She adopted the name Whoopi Goldberg. And the fact that she even took on the last name Goldberg is actually a discussion that could be had. And maybe the real reason she should be canceled, if she's going to be canceled at all, And look, I hate to defend somebody who has actively called for the censorship of others with dissenting and just different ideas.
Has she, though?
Has been at the forefront of the culture of censorship. And so she's getting a bit of a dose of what she's been dishing out. She is getting.
Has she, though?
Absolutely accurate, and she deserves it, every last bit of it. But for those of us who believe in the discussion of ideas, those of us who believe in allowing for free thought and for people to have different ideas and to hash those things out, this isn't really a win, as much as many conservatives would absolutely love to cheer Whoopi Goldberg being censored or canceled. Or
you are cheering it.
You're seeing a lot of conservatives actually not cheering for this. Now, here's the thing.
No, I've seen all the conservatives cheering for it.
Topics, but specifically history and science. These topics need to be discussed openly. Instead, we have this culture of diss rather than discuss, and we should be discussing differences in viewpoints when it comes to historical.
Diss or discuss, right under her witty headline, Karma for Karen.
Historical happenings, what really were the causes of history. Science, we've seen this throughout the pandemic. Science.
Yeah, I think we're missing a much bigger point. I'm with you, Ida.
Openly debated. We used to have a culture of if a doctor gave you a diagnosis, you would go to another doctor for a second opinion. Now suddenly you're not allowed to have a second opinion. And we do know that when it comes to history, the victor gets to write what.
Oh, I'm sorry. RB did correct me. I said North Atlantic Trade Organization. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Written in the history books. But not only that, but we should be able to always
Thank
look
you for the
back at
correction.
history and dissect it and pontificate on it a bit more than just what we read in our history books. And that is what Whoopi Goldberg apparently wanted to do. And she has a different view of what happened. She has a different view as to why things unfolded the way that they did. Plenty of people do. She's not alone in her viewpoint. Believe it or not, a good chunk of people actually agree with Whoopi Goldberg. Maybe not her audience, because the View has cultivated a particular type of audience that's watching them. But plenty of other people actually said, I don't know if Whoopi Goldberg was particularly wrong. And that is why her ideas should be discussed rather than just dissed. Rather than silence her and sideline her for 2 weeks, why can't this be a topic of discussion? If you're not going to discuss history and instead it's just going to be something that, no, you read what's in the history book, you accept it, and then you just regurgitate it, and there's no room for nuance, no room for disagreement, no room for discussion, then why are we even learning history? Are we learning it because we're wanting to learn from the past? We're wanting to use those examples, have discussions, and prevent them from happening again? Or are we just using it to shame and to feel guilty? So we need to be able to have these discussions.
I'm so confused.
Now, I get it. A lot of people will say, listen, this isn't canceling. This is fine. This isn't a First Amendment issue because this is a private company. I mean, we could have a debate about that because ABC, definitely, which I believe is what the network that The View is on, does. They rent the federal airwaves and all of that. But nonetheless.
And all of that. Blah, 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 blah.
When it comes to whether or not this is a First Amendment issue, people often reel into the discussion of it isn't because it's a private company. But listen, whether it be a First Amendment issue or not, shouldn't be a discussion that shouldn't be the point. The point for us as a free nation, it isn't just that we're free because our government lets us be free. We're free because we allow each other to be free. So we have to have a reckoning, I believe, in our culture.
Yeah, I'm really wondering who Kim Iverson is around.
It's going to be a culture of
that have different views on the Holocaust.
That we give to one another. It's not just the government that is over us and they're the ones that decide what we can and cannot say, and it's about whether or not
I don't know what she's trying to say.
Thrown into prison by the government. It's about how we interact with one another, the culture that we have with each other. Are we going to be censoring each other, or are we going to allow each other the freedom of having some discussion? And that is, I think, a big aspect.
This is another one of my pet peeves, is I feel like people conflate criticism with censorship. Like the dude that was here in my chat that was saying I was wanting to censor Joe Rogan. I was advocating for him to have on knowledgeable doctors before he has the quacks on. How is that censorship? I thought that was a critique that would make his show better if he's going to talk about those topics. I honestly don't think Joe Rogan should be talking about medical issues. Talk to comedians, celebrities, MMA fighters. Stick in your lane. Stick with what you know about. The View probably shouldn't be talking about the Holocaust. It's just not the right forum.
Missing from the debate when we do talk about freedom of speech. It often just goes into this First Amendment versus private companies, and they could do whatever they want. But really, we should be talking about how we treat each other, how we want each other to behave, how we want this country to be as a culture. That is the big issue, I think, the big takeaway with this.
Are you wanting to censor me calling you a dumb fuck? Or asking if I think you're stupid?
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
What do you mean, talking about how we treat each other? Is this some kind of an appeal to civility or some shit? I don't get what she's trying to say.
I want to ask you, Ryan and Robbie, on this. Do you think that Whoopi Goldberg, I mean, look, she's one that has been calling for censorship, and we've seen this a lot. People on the left that have called for censorship.
Can I have an example of that?
And then suddenly they're getting a dose of their own medicine. Do you think she's going to change when she comes back out, or do you think she's going to continue to be all about the censorship? And I've seen it go both ways.
Ryan Grimm just rolled his eyes.
I called for censorship. It happened to me. I get it now. I was wrong. Or do you think she's going to just continue on with, nope, the View is one view and one view only?
Yeah, I don't think this is a significant enough punishment to cause her to reflect that, oh, maybe it is wrong to punish people. Now, it's a completely stupid punishment, and I have yet to find someone whose reaction to the 2-week suspension is, oh, good, they really got that right. That's how they should have handled
solve this issue.
All kinds of right-wingers. That's all I follow on Facebook. They are gloating about it. They've got the whole Kim Iverson dose of her own medicine bullshit going on, but they're cheering it on. They're not coming to Whoopi's defense. They're not free speech absolutists.
Not a single person that I can find thinks this was a good idea. You're right, Kim, though. We have seen, some of the most staunch opponents of cancel culture, kind of the illiberal censorship.
Let's take a scroll through Twitter right now, shall we? Since I can do that, since I've got a fucking Twitter. Let's type Whoopi and let's take a scroll. Let's find out exactly what's going on, shall we? Oh God, don't let me see AEW spoilers. I want to send blessing and love out to the Jewish community. This is Gina Carino. When I was being smeared, canceled, and misunderstood, it was a Jewish man, Ben Shapiro, who reached out and asked if I'd like to talk about it. Maybe Whoopi Goldberg could talk to Ben. Why is it that Roseanne, a Jewish woman, gets canceled for off-color remarks, but Whoopi gets a total pass for anti-Semitism and downplaying the Holocaust? It's Donald Trump Jr. I can't help but notice that only people on the right face consequences for their mistakes. Babylon B, Biden quietly withdraws Whoopi Goldberg's SCOTUS nomination. Here we go. Candace Owens, poetic justice. Whoopi Goldberg, a woman who picked a fake Jewish last name for herself, I've seen that also as well. Being accused of picking a Jewish name for herself. Was she dating or seeing somebody in Hollywood that had the name Goldberg? Where did she get that from? Was it a mentor's name? I don't know why she picked Goldberg. Getting suspended for a rant against Jewish people during the same week that she demands Joe Rogan's censorship and removal. Even if Joe Rogan was taken off of Spotify, that's not censorship. I hate to break it to you guys. Kat Rosenfeld, thinks that the 2-week cool-down period in which a controversial person is suspended purely for PR purposes will hereafter be known as the whoopee cushion. That's kind of funny. Whoopi gets a second chance, but Roseanne Barr never got a second chance. This is from Diamond and Silk. Jenna Ellis, Whoopi threatens to quit. America, please be serious. And notice who all is tweeting about it. Here's to hoping ABC's 15 days to slow the spread of Whoopi Goldberg lasts as long as COVID's has. That's from Lauren Boebert. Donald Trump, another tweet about it. They're taking laps. Robbie just completely lied.
Norms that have come into being. Some of the biggest critics,
what up, Zoot?
Who themselves used to support them and then ran afoul of them. I don't sense that Whoopi is going to become one of those, but it's fair to wonder.
You know, there's that joke that a conservative is a liberal who was mugged, and so a cancel culture opponent is a liberal who was canceled.
I've seen it a triple way. So conservative. So liberal gets mugged, becomes conservative. Conservative starts doing drugs.
Get that shit.
Libertarian. Libertarian gets a job, becomes a liberal because your bosses mistreat you. Liberal starts paying taxes, becomes libertarian.
Becomes the boss. Right.
Yeah.
So Whoopi's in the phase of starting to wonder if there's mob mentality and overreaction. You would think she might also kind of reflect on, she thinks that what she was saying is just obvious and to everybody else. She should be wondering, why is everybody so mad about this? And maybe that would help her get to a place where she can understand like what she's confused about. She just seems so confused.
Is wrong. I mean, we've now discussed this multiple times, so sorry to go into it again, but she not that it was perfectly legitimate to bring it up again, Kim. I didn't mean to slam your choice of topic. I think it's a great topic. I like talking about it. But the view that
apparently they talked about it multiple times on this show, which is insane.
Jews and Germans were both white. Like everyone involved was white people. It was like white on white crime. Is a new and modern view that the term white encompasses both Jewish people and all people of a certain skin pigmentation. She was only looking at race from in a literal black and white way. Funny enough, which you're right, Kim, is something a lot of people, I think, in the sort of progressive identity politics.
See, I thought she was making the argument that encompassed much more than race. They went after the socialists, that they went after gay people and trans people. Apparently that's not what she was, after watching the Colbert interview, apparently that's not the argument she was making. So maybe I was too generous towards her last night.
Liberal circles believe, but is new, is not historically the way it was. Absolutely, at the time of the Holocaust, Jews were considered a separate race. Before that, Germans and Polish people and Czechs and Austrians but even within Germany, like Bavarians and Bohemians were a different race.
Russians an inferior race. Slavs.
Right. But here's the thing: we're having this discussion, so she should be able to have the discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't understand
absolutely.
why silencing her. And this is we see this a lot when it comes.
Now I'm just more confused about what she said anyway.
We're talking about if it's a very
doesn't make sense to me.
Event that happened, something like the Holocaust.
At least Rising did have a better conversation about it than The View.
Even discuss it in a certain way. You're not allowed to compare it to any modern events, which I've always had a problem with, because I feel like, what's the point of learning history if it's not to learn from it so that we can compare it to modern events and say it's kind of happening again. Let's not make that mistake. But it's like,
that's like arguing semantics about it. Like, that is not the point I thought she was making.
There's a lot of people who agree with her. That to me seems like that should be the point of The View, is that The View would then hash these types of things out and say, well, this is what we think, this is what I think, and then there's this, we see this a lot on the left.
There's a hell of a good corporate critique to make, but hey, in our capitalist society, nobody's going to make that critique.
I'm the one who is, right? So let her be educated, right? Let people sit there on the panel and educate her. And that's what should happen.
Well, no, that's why they brought the CEO of the ADL on for
2 weeks, which is very odd.
Yeah, and her reaction on Colbert to say, okay, I get it. I'll take your word for it. I'll never talk about it again. Like, that's not what we want. Like, we don't want a society where people like disagree, but are like, you know what, fine. I'll just
Yes. The point of the View is to sell shit to yuppie housewives.
We're not appreciating.
It's to sell advertising to people that sell shit to yuppie housewives.
Just normal people, celebrities, people of all classes. Now we see all of what we think on social media, and so for some reason, liberals have become very obsessed with. Oh no, somebody said something that is not quite right. It has to be stopped. But like people are not more misinformed than they used to.
I think that's a straw man.
Misinformed than they used to be, in all likelihood.
Or they're becoming.
I also think Robbie's wrong there.
Because we're not even allowed to have the discussion to correct people.
They're becoming more fearful about expressing their views.
One thing I do want to point out, though, is that it's really interesting about cancel culture is you never know what you're going to be canceled for until you're canceled.
True.
And I think Whoopi experienced that, right? Where she thought she was saying something, because she's like the queen of cancel culture. And there she was saying something that she thought, surely I won't be canceled for this because I know all the rules. I made them. Yeah. And then here she is getting canceled.
I don't understand what that argument is. How
canceled over someday.
I don't watch The View very often, except the clips we watch here on this show. So
I've been very careful even on my own YouTube.
Do you guys know enough about this that has Whoopi called for cancellation of people?
For something.
I don't think our audience is going to cancel us. Just
no, this isn't an audience of cancels.
Yes.
Of cancelers, but there are shows like
guys.
The View.
We love
your audience is quite rough. I'll tell you that. At least the people in the comment section on YouTube.
Ryan sometimes.
Only Ryan sometimes. All right, we gotta go.
I hate it when people make assertions and they don't provide evidence for what they're saying. I don't know enough about Whoopi to know if she's the queen of cancel culture. Has she called for people to be canceled? But as long as we're talking about hypocrisy in the media, let's hear what Fox News has to say about Jeff Zucker. Jeff Zucker was the president of CNN?
A major controversy in the media. New reports say Chris Cuomo may have forced his old boss out of CNN by exposing a consensual relationship Jeff Zucker had with a colleague. The CNN chief announcing his sudden resignation today after admitting.
Who is this guy? I've never seen him before. Anybody know? This is The Five. This is their View type show on Fox. I specifically wanted to get a Fox clip of them talking about a consensual relationship that has forced Zucker out.
He failed to disclose the situation.
Harold Ford? Do you think this is Harold Ford Jr.? Is that his name?
It was uncovered as part of the investigation into Chris Cuomo's tenure at the network. Greg, you have strong thoughts about this network and about some of the things. How do you feel about this day at the network and for Jeff Zucker?
Well, first, I personally want to thank Jeff Zucker for supplying this show and my show with so much amazing content. Sure, he could have gotten rid of Chris Cuomo a couple years ago.
Apparently it is. He is a financial advisor, financial managing director. Okie dokie.
On Lemon, but he stuck by these incompetents and filled me with so much quality television that I can't begin to thank him. However,
I should have been fired for that.
Exactly, Don Johnson.
Pretty bad.
I wanted to enjoy this story so much, but I was so naive because I thought he was getting fired over the ratings, not over an open, secret relationship between two divorced adults. He should have lost it over their collusion coverage, their anti-cop narrative, all the fake news that they spewed.
Anti-cop narrative?
Billions over memes, stupid stuff like that. But this relationship doesn't even register in my brain. Perhaps it's a violation of some kind of thing in human resources, but it's nothing compared to the hazardous waste that drips out of CNN every night. I mean, think about how bad. He should have been fired. When you think about how bad.
Well, at least he takes the correct stance that he shouldn't be fired over a consensual relationship. But he's like, he should still be fired. We're happy about the fact that he was fired. We're not going to go to bat for him. We're still going to slander him and say that it is just like with Whoopi Goldberg. She should be fired, yes. Maybe not for this, because free speech, yada, yada, yada.
Ad CNN got under Zucker. It is a left-wing station that now Tucker Carlson has more Democrats watching his show. This show gets more Democrats watching than CNN does. We literally drank their milkshake on their home turf. That's humiliating. So this obviously is about Chris Cuomo exacting revenge. This was This is
the news should be bragging about how many Democrats and Republicans watch them.
So, when powerful people know things about other powerful people and you come after me, well, you just better be careful because I also know what's in your backyard. And that's what happened. This was a sure takedown from Chris Cuomo, which somehow makes it a little sad for me to enjoy it because I wanted him to be fired for the crappy product.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, Zoot, but also, I need content for this show.
So many people. I wish
we haven't played much View since Meghan McCain left.
CNN should start from scratch. You keep painting a turd. It still smells really bad. It's a conduit for conflict clickbait. That's what it is now.
I'm the Magic Johnson here. Pass goes to you.
Okay, well, so
it's a conduit for clickbait.
This morning after newsroom.
Hey, you just fucking scroll down Fox's Twitter or Facebook feed. A conduit for clickbait. The hypocrisy.
Said to the team after the show, everyone has to watch The Five because we talk about this stuff all the time. And you're right. You would think that there's a million things that the board would want to get rid of him for. And maybe actually, I think there's more.
Yeah.
Because you could have weathered this PR scandal. This is not, as you said, consenting adults. And she's already at a high level. It's not like the president and the intern.
Right.
Okay,
It seems like Cuomo was trying to blackmail him or some shit.
And if you go back to Chris Cuomo's
it's not like Roger Ailes raping people like Gretchen Carlson.
And it was along the lines of Jeff Zucker doesn't know exactly what it's going to be that brings him down, but I have something in my back pocket and I will play it when I need to. So that seems to be what happened here. I do feel one other thing. I want people to meet and fall in love wherever.
This Dana Perino.
And you often meet people at work
Yes,
that you have similar interests in. Right?
Story of my life.
And so, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I just feel like I think these human resources.
Okay, who at that table is fucking?
The trouble he got in is that they were supposed to disclose. He was supposed to disclose it sooner. But if you're two consenting adults and you're both divorced and you're not sure if the relationship is going to be going anywhere, and you both have really great jobs. At what point do you know, is this going somewhere? Why would we talk about this if we don't need to? It seems to me a little bit that human resources on this front is a little overwrought.
See how this ruins a great story?
Yes.
Let's go to the judge.
Would they defend us? No.
Well, but apparently he was going at the end of the year.
Is Judge Janine fucking one of the people at the table?
He was out, and
Into 21.
whether it was at the end of and so whether it was we've had enough of this.
Oh, Harold Ford is with Judge Janine.
Marriage. But the interesting thing is,
shit.
Wrote a book and wrote about the fact that Zucker and his family lived in an apartment right below the woman that he ended up having the affair with while she was married, and both of them were married and had their own families. So who knows when it all started? I don't really care. But this is.
I mean, I've never married a coworker, but I've fucked many.
What I find most fascinating about this is that you get these people who are in positions of power, and they think they're God.
Oh, okay. You're just making shit up. Okay.
They're violating the law, whether it be.
I feel like somebody at that table is fucking somebody else at that table. I don't know who. Maybe it's Harold Ford and it's Jesse Waters. Maybe they're a cute little gay couple. I don't know.
Cuomo, or journalistic integrity, Chris Cuomo, or the rules and regulations, whether it's Jeff Zucker, but they think, I'll get away with it. I'm above it. I'm better than everyone else. The rules don't apply to me. And that's what I think we're seeing now. We're seeing people.
What we know for sure is it's not Greg.
The story with Zucker, and I'm sure there is. But these are the people who tried to convince us that we were all hateful fascists. Yeah. And in the end, they were the ones who weren't following any of the rules.
Jesse.
Well, if I'm Tubin, I'm thinking,
wait. Nobody thinks you're fascist because, you don't follow your workplace rules. No. It's because you support you're the propaganda arm of the Republican Party, which has become fucking fascist. Many of you have, if not cheered on, downplayed the insurrection that took place on January the 6th. So,
bullet here. I mean, I got off easy.
He did get off easy.
Yeah, yes, he did. I hear there's tapes. I hear Cuomo has tapes. And if Zucker had
Which
just,
Cuomo?
I heard Chris might have some recordings. And if Zucker had just fired him and let him keep the rest of his contract, I think maybe he wouldn't have dropped this dirt. But I think he tried to fire him with cause and claw back some of those millions that he was owed, and that's what made him play so dirty. Right now, so AT&T just spun off CNN into Warner Media, so they're just like this now, and the whole company's open. It's open season on CNN. Stelter doesn't have any protection. Lemon has no protection.
Jesse Waters is single. Judge Janine is married to like a fucking another attorney. Harold Ford is married to Emily Threckland. Yeah, I had to look who at this table is fucking. Jesse Waters is currently single. He's been Oh no, I'm sorry. He is married to Emmy DiGiovanni. I thought he'd been divorced. Else at the table. Who's Greg Gutfeld fucking?
You know Tubin's not protected. So all their talent's looking around like, oh my God, I don't have Zucker here. He's not going to have my back. They might even have to change the whole business model of CNN and just go breaking news, documentaries, and just cut the crap with all the opinion, fake news, conspiracy garbage, because that, as a business model, doesn't work. So might have someone as a takeover artist come in.
He's married to a nice little,
Rogan.
nice little Russian lady.
CNN.
She's a model and a photo editor.
Spotify should buy CNN.
And then let Joe take it over.
Exactly.
Yes.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
Spotify should buy CNN. Do they know who owns CNN? I think fucking Time Warner AT&T buying Spotify is the more likely merger. They have to know that shit. Good Lord. Tesla recalls cars with full self-driving to prevent rolling stops. Tesla told the federal regulator that rolling stops were allowed only at intersections where no cars, pedestrians, or bicycles were detected, but agreed to disable the feature. The move comes after the automaker was criticized on social media for enabling rolling stops in violation of traffic regulations. Failing to stop at a stop sign can increase the risk of a crash, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said in a letter to Tesla confirming the recall, which was made public on Tuesday. The action covers only Teslas that have been equipped with software that the company calls full self-driving. It includes SX3 and Y models that were produced at various times between 2016 and 2022. I believe this would be the video caused the controversy. Self-driving Tesla does the craziest things you can imagine. Boston man's viral video shows autopilot dangers. Yes, a Musk company product turned out to be all hype.
Obviously, I had to take over.
Didn't even start slowing down.
No. Wow.
He ain't taking his hands off the wheel.
Oh no. Oh no. Look at that. I'm not seeing videos on it doing this. All right, I'll go. Thanks. Yeah. Protected here, so.
Okay, just what is it doing?
Ain't a chance in hell I'm gonna ride in one of those. Holy fuck. Fuck you, Elon. Alright, as I said, I'll be wrapping it up early tonight because I got wrestling in South Park to watch. You know, you guys get an animal video, so, but content warning on this one. We are going to watch a stingray give birth, so enjoy. Probably not for the weak at heart. Yeah, we got sound and everything. Don't terms of service me, Twitch. They do not lay eggs. Eggs hatch inside them. Baby stingray is getting oriented with the world. Have to learn to swim quickly. Gotta get that tan going. I was surprised at how big it was when it came out. I wonder if it's slimy like a human baby. Dude's just going up and like petting it. Looks like she gave birth to at least 3. Yeah, it's not all puppy dogs and kitty cats here on the Troll Patrol. Though I am partial to puppy dogs and kitty cats. Never know what kind of animal you're going to see on here. If you are watching on Twitch, we're heading over to say hey to Kai. On the Proudly Radical channel. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin FREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol. Live.